Back to the season finale of Lombardi Sweep. And all that really means is that the schedule is TBD going forward. We'll be back after the Super Bowl at some point doing some free agent stuff, draft coverage stuff. But as you all know, the Green Bay Packers season is done. Swept by the Detroit Lions to end the season. Uh,
Instead of
full
running the
barn here.
table, we were swept under the table.
We sure did. We got pulled under the water along with Dan Campbell, who also drowned. He just wanted to bring everyone down with him, and they did a good job. But yeah, everyone here: Luke Reimer, Janet Wilson, Trevor Land. I'm Zach Bruner, and I guess just first, let's just talk about overall feelings. You can just go over everything you're feeling, talking about missing the playoffs, talking about losing to the Lions twice this year, talking about essentially failing in the exact ways that we predicted back in May. Talk about everything you're absolutely feeling. Talk about LaFleur's press conferences afterwards. Talk about reporters like Tom Silverstein being Tom Silverstein. Whatever you want. Janet Wilson, what are you feeling? We usually go counterclockwise. We'll go clockwise today because, hey, we're moving forward. We're moving forward here. Janet, what's your thoughts? What's your feelings here?
I mean, there's been worse seasons, I guess. I mean,
True, I guess, yeah.
I mean, I feel like there were some fun times. I'm depressed. I'm a little bit depressed, and like always, I use humor just to cover it up. No, I mean, it was a terrible way to go out, but at least we scored points this time. Cause I remember, well, that game that I had gone to a while back, we didn't score any points against the Lions, and we went out real ugly. But it was a weird game too. Like everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong. I don't know. I'm depressed.
No, Janet, I'm with you on that. Like it's like the depression comes right because the Packers didn't have a shot, and then all of a sudden they did have a shot, and then in a game that felt like it encapsulated the whole season, it just nothing went right. But I don't know. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on the season, but to me, this season felt very long. I guess looking back at it, like I bring it up a lot, but that Tampa Bay game was this year where we won on the last play. That doesn't feel like it. I don't know, going to London, it doesn't really feel like these things happened, but they did. And I think I don't know. It like we talked about it to start the year. We didn't have any real expectations of this team. That's kind of still how I felt. That maybe that's why losing the season doesn't feel as bad as losing in the playoffs. I don't know. This team wasn't very good. They probably don't deserve to be in the playoffs. Would have been fun if they were in the playoffs. Hell yeah. But I think we're kind of, I don't want to say transitioning to a different phase here, but something is starting in Green Bay. For the better, for the worse, who knows? I just wanted to add in too. I told you guys this, but I was in person at both those Lions games, and I can't believe that I watched the Packers lose the Lions twice in person in the season.
And then the way the week before, how they like blew out the Vikings, and then just to be like, just kidding, we still suck. They gave
You
us
kind of
so
just
much
summarized
hope.
Wisconsin sports, though.
Yes,
Like Wisconsin sports, like you could be terrible. Wisconsin sports will always find a way to get your hopes back up for a second, just to crush you, and it's magical. I hate it, but you gotta love it a little bit. You're in the mix. You're always in the mix if you're cheering for Wisconsin.
it's a thrill.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am holding out hope for Luke Fickell. I can't wait to see how the rug gets pulled out from under us after all this drafting. But three main points, and one of them's really quick. The first one, I think this is the worst possible way the season could have played out. I kind of talked about it when I said there's no fucking way they were on the table. There's no way they make it. I wasn't gritting my teeth at all because the moment they beat the Vikings, I knew this was going to happen. You don't know anything about Jordan Love. Your draft position is shit. You don't make the playoffs. Number two, I think this game against the Lions proved just how much Aaron Rodgers needs to get the hell out of Green Bay. I don't think he will, but the fact that I saw people, Ryan Clark, Stephen A. Smith, and crazy people bash him for this loss is incredible. He was not perfect, but I mean, Jesus Christ. And this leads into the third point. This is the second straight game that I'm thinking of with playoffs on the line or the playoffs, San Francisco on this game, where the opposing team didn't win the game, the Packers lost. And the story was, once again, to me, nobody showed up to play. Like, Christian Watson made a great play and he put up a decent stat line, but outside of Aaron Rodgers, when the lights were the brightest on these players, nobody showed up. Absolutely nobody. And it just makes you wonder how you can build a team with these guys that have done it 2 years in a row and they can't even win a single playoff game. Like, how can you win a Super Bowl with that team? I just don't see it.
Yeah, so I think it was after we came back from Detroit. Packers were obviously at an all-time low. And I think, Trevor, you talked about how the Packers are completely dead. They're terrible. And I told you, we're going to win enough games to get around 15. And here we are, baby. I like how I don't think any of us, maybe Janet a little bit, but I don't think any of us are truly crushed. And I think that's an interesting point to make because, again, I go back to this for the past 3 years now. This is a team that supposedly was all in. And if we are all in, then this should be absolutely crushing and shocking and all of the above. But I don't think anybody's surprised. I don't think anybody's shocked. And there's no way you could even pretend that this team was all in this year, other than maybe Aaron Rodgers, and that's about it. In terms of a personnel, in terms of staffing, in terms of the moves that the front office made, like there's no way you can even pretend to say that this team was all in, even though that's exactly what they did every time they got in front of a microphone. So, it'll be interesting to see what we do going forward because I'm not sure if that same song and dance will continue to work. I think this year woke a lot of people up. Packer fans are finally a little bit pissed off, I think, at the right types of people. There's certainly, Trevor, to your point, a lot of people just blaming Rodgers for everything blindly still, which that's just going to continue to happen. But finally, people are realizing, like, hey, maybe Gutekunst screwed up that draft class. Maybe we should have done this. Hey, maybe we shouldn't have traded away Devontae Adams. Maybe we shouldn't have done this or that. Which is good because that's true. In terms of the game, I'm not even sure if the players played that terrible. I really don't think so. There's obviously some bad moments. Rodgers looked significantly worse after hurting his thumb even more. I really think we got tremendously outcoached. Just over and over and over to the point where it may have taken Rodgers 6 or 7 times to get hit by Aiden Hutchinson before we made a switch at right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Nyman shouldn't have been starting, at any point this season anyway. But especially in that game, especially after Zach Tom came in for him and looked better than him. We constantly overthink everything and constantly try to, I think, Luke, you've made this analogy a million times. It's just the Always Sunny meme with like a million points going a million directions. That's what it seems like the coaching room is. Mm-hmm. And they have no fucking idea what's going on. And I think that continues today at this point. And I'll let you guys share anything else before we get into things that have already happened after the season that should make people want to pull their hair out. But just in terms of the game, in terms of the way we lost, is there any other point you truly want to make? Is there anything else you want to say, vent about, etc.?
I don't think so, right? Like, this was really a playoff game. I think for every playoff game, you just want to win. And if you win, then it's good. If you lose, then whatever. So it's hard to evaluate winning you're in or losing you're out games. Zach, I agree with you. That wasn't the greatest offensive line performance of all time or anything on Green Bay's part. Even to the point where it took him 3 quarters to sub out Yosh Nijman. I don't know if you guys caught Rodgers after the game as well. Someone asked, I think it was Bill Huber asked Rodgers, what was the problem with the offense this year? Is there anything you want to change? And Rodgers said, I have a lot of things to say, but this is probably not the right place to do it, or something along those lines. So there's obviously disconnect with the quarterback and the coach again. And for a team that's going all in. Feels like there shouldn't be disconnect, even a team that's rebuilding. Like I get the disconnect, but that's not the what the Packers wanted to portray their team as. And so this just all comes back to our idea that if you don't commit to rebuilding or commit to being a contender, you're stuck in the middle area, and you can have the 18th pick for the next decade. And that's kind of felt like what the Packers have been in here.
For me, I found it interesting, when we talked about it offline. The Packers always pride themselves on, Packer guys, the culture and stuff. And then you look at the culture, and Quay Walker does what he does, and Devontae Wyatt does what he does, which is interesting to me. But I think nothing summarized the incompetence of the coaching more than trotting Mason Crosby's old ass out there for a 53-yarder after he barely made a 48 and a 49. But you could see his leg was shot, and he maybe had a kick left. And you're up 13-6 at that point? No, not 9-6 Packers. And you don't even think about like going forward or putting yourself in a position to go forward or a shorter field goal. Just lack of awareness that we've seen kind of this whole year. And it's just sad to see, because if you want to win a championship, like, those are blunders that you can't make if you're even in the playoffs, much less make it a run.
Yeah, we get in those big moments, and for whatever reason, no matter who's in charge of the Packers, I feel like we continue to try to play not to lose instead of to win. Whereas the Lions obviously had nothing to lose because they win and they don't make it in. So they were playing reckless, they were playing aggressive, they were playing, with their backs up against the wall, and that showed. And the Packers didn't view it, or at least it didn't look like they viewed it in the similar way. To your point, Luke, it was a playoff game, obviously. And it just didn't feel like it in terms of the product on the field, I suppose. I don't know. But about what the Huber question, what you said, like there's a disconnect between Rodgers and the offense. And I don't know this for a fact. This isn't like something I talked about with anybody in the building. So it's just speculation. But like, I do think Rodgers was trying to be forceful to start the season. And you remember that's when all those reports were coming out about Rodgers is this asshole. Rodgers is leaks from the team about he's doing this. He's like embarrassing people. He's yelling at people. He's not a good leader. And I do think he consciously had to take a backseat approach and let the coach and him just play. Because I think this, not to sound old, but I think like this younger generation of players that comes in, like they didn't like that. I think that's just not the way they saw it. They were like, this guy, who, by the way, was the back-to-back MVP, but like this guy is trying to override the coach. And that's not how you do it. Obviously, two Georgia guys coming from there. Like, there's nobody overriding the coach there. There's nobody overriding the coach at any point where they were, probably. And Rodgers is trying to do that, and they didn't like that. And, so he probably took a backseat approach, and I think it probably was detrimental to the team. Maybe better in the short term, but obviously worse in the long term. That's just speculation. And if that's the case, I hate LaFleur. So like, I don't know. We better not get two LaFleurs in the fucking building, by the way. Like, we can't let that happen. But it's going to happen. So stupid.
Never forget, we always have the Lions, and they have 2 early picks this year. So things are looking up for Detroit.
Zach, though, like, I totally get what you're talking about, especially because I'm a teacher and like I have to deal with these younger kids, and I can see that some of the players have the attitude of these kids. And so when Alexander did like the gritty during the Vikings game, my dad was like, he was so upset about it. He was like, stop doing that. Because that's the younger generation mindset. Like, I just ran all over you, I'm gonna do the gritty. But like the older players, not as much. It's not like just because
I don't know. T.O. did claim the star, and T.O. did do a lot of things.
That's true.
That's the diva individual mindset.
That's
and that's
true.
always been the case for wide receivers and cornerbacks. They're always on the island. They're always competing with the guy in front of them. But it seems like everybody has the individualistic mindset now for many reasons. Like one's is they all have their own brands because of social media. Not saying that's a bad thing, it's just true. Also, they're selling their brands now in college and high school for actual money. So like everyone truly is looking out for themselves, and that can be seen very, very vividly in the Quay Walker ejection. He's been a shitbird, me first person from the beginning. He's just always been like that, just with his actions, both just in play and out of play. Sent the message, like, reminder to you guys, like, after the draft, he was in that car accident. Like, this guy just does whatever the fuck he does, and he has been like this from the get go. And it just for some reason, Matt LaFleur telling him to be smart didn't resonate. And then he did it again. LaFleur told him to be smart again. So good coaching, I suppose. I'm sure Joe Barry knows his name enough now to sit him down and talk to him. But I think he did. He played within the Joe Barry scheme. It's be reckless. Doesn't matter about your assignment. If you see something, go make a play. Be you. And it's all individuals on defense that he fed right into it. He is part of the Joe Barry defense.
Yeah, I agree. I just had two points that I wanted to make before we move on. It's crazy that Quay Walker is the first player in 15 years to be ejected twice in a season. And it's also crazy. Another, maybe this isn't the inept Packers offense that Aaron Rodgers had a problem with. I sent you guys this message, but how is it possible that Aaron Jones only got 2 rushing touchdowns this year? Sorry, not to totally change the subject here, but that's incredible, isn't it?
I would like to see the split between Jones and Dillon in terms of just like red zone snap percentage. Because he just gets taken out.
Yep.
He just gets taken out in the red zone. It was clearly a plan. Like there's no doubt about it, whether it's saving him from the big quote unquote big hits in a red zone to preserve him, obviously for what at this point, but I don't know. And I do think they still view AJ Dillon as that big short yardage Brandon Jacobs guy, and they think that's what is going to work in the red zone. And if you look at the red zone numbers, it was embarrassingly bad. Not even a David Bakhtiari trick play in Detroit could save the Packers. For some reason, that was a thing. Dude. Whereas in the past, it was hand the ball to Devontae or hand the ball to Aaron Jones or let Devontae get open. That's what it was last year and the year before that when the Packers were setting record red zone numbers. It was just simple playmakers making plays, and the Packers didn't have the playmakers in position to make plays.
It's funny. Like, Aiden Hutchinson almost had as many red zone interceptions as Aaron Jones had rushing touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, Aaron Jones is probably the best player on offense. We've been saying it all year. And I know we're just talking about shit all over again. But it's absolutely wild to me that you don't use a Pro Bowl running back. You don't use the best player maybe on your team. It's just incredible. It's bad coaching. It's bad whatever it was. And did that partner with Devontae Adams? I mean, it makes sense why this offense didn't work this year.
Well,
for sure.
If I may go to back to Quay Walker too, it's insane that people think Quay Walker ejection ended the game for the Packers. Like, the Lions were driving the ball only down 3. Like, they were going to score no matter what, and they were probably going to win that game no matter what. Quay Walker had nothing on it.
Well, it's just, I don't know. Like, you're viewing Quay Walker as too good of a player if you think his loss was the catalyst of the Packers losing. Like, Quay Walker's fine. Like, I don't know. Like, let's stop saying, oh, look at his total tackles. Oh, let's look at his cumulative stats and not anything else where he had to play a million snaps and it doesn't really matter. Like, he's a fine player and he could grow into a great player someday.
Hope he does.
He just was not. I hope so too. He just was not that this season, and we don't need to pretend. And this is the exact conversation, by the way, I think we had about Rashawn Gary, which led to Rashawn Gary blocking us. Like, I'm just not going to pretend Rashawn Gary is the greatest football player I've ever seen, where he's not the best edge on the team currently. That's a rookie. Or not. I mean, if you consider Preston Smith, that it's Preston Smith. But
Like, did
Rashawn
we
Gary
notice?
got hurt, got out for the season. So did Stokes. And what did the Packers defense do?
Played much better.
Got better.
Yeah, I was just
Way
gonna
better.
say, did anybody even notice after 1 week that Rashawn Gary was still gone? Like, nobody at all. They were just as good, if not better.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not, I love when people would be like, this defense got better at the end of the season. Now imagine putting Rashawn Gary in there. Like that. That's the
what we said
difference. We took
last
him
year
out of there.
about
Like,
the draft.
what are we doing? Yeah.
And
So
guess what?
stupid.
Bill Barry's still running the fucking show. So it doesn't matter. What we could have prime Ed Reed and Junior Seau, rest in peace. It won't make a damn lick of a difference.
No.
How come the Jaguars haven't been getting flack yet for taking Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson?
I don't know. Trayvon Walker's been fine, but yeah, Aiden Hutchinson
Right.
was clearly the best player in the draft, and he's clearly been the best out of those two this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could have taken Sauce Gardner with how good he's looked, and it would have been better too.
Right.
I love the Jaguars. Shout out my boy Foye Oluokun, best linebacker in the league. I have nothing to back it up, but I just want to shout him out.
I think he led in tackles this year, Trevor.
Yeah, he led in tackles last year too, using Quay Walker's stats. Knock it off.
Don't
We just
care.
had this
He's
conversation.
carrying in fantasy, and he's everywhere on the field.
Okay, let's talk about next season and off-season stuff. Well, I mean, we'll get into free agent stuff, I think, at a later date, but I guess I just really quickly want to ask, like, we talked about preserving Aaron Jones. We talked about Aaron Jones not being used in the red zone. We talked about Aaron Jones' numbers being way lower. And I think that was a strategic decision, by the way. But he's due $20 million next year. And he really wasn't that big of a plan relative to past years on offense. Like, do we just let him go? For sure we're restructuring his contract if he stays. He's not making $20 million. But, like,
yeah,
why would we keep him?
Right.
Absolutely. Trade him. See if you can maybe get somehow, act like you're going to use him and then trade him immediately for like nickels on the dollar. That would be kind of nice.
I don't think you can trade a running back in the NFL, but
the Bears will take any running back. I disagree.
No, they can draft him. That's the only thing they're confident in. They drafted a running back at quarterback too. They're like, fine, we cracked the code. We just need to draft all running backs, and then we'll be good.
Bears do draft good running backs.
Great.
It's like Steelers with receivers.
They draft good linebackers too, usually. Then nothing else. Nothing else. Okay, off-season stuff. And next season, I will say the Packers finished third in the division, so typically that's a good thing. That means we play 3 non-divisional games against other third-place teams. That means we have games against the Rams, Giants, and Steelers next year. And if that doesn't sound good, that's because it's not really. If we ended up winning and making the playoffs, then we would have been second. Instead of Rams, Giants, Steelers, it would have been Seahawks, Cowboys, and Ravens, which it's for sure not harder. It might be easier. It's for sure not harder. So I think it's a wash, but that's just that. It is what it is. Press conferences, Luke, you talked about the Aaron Rodgers one a little bit. I don't think we really need to talk about anything else that Rodgers said, in my opinion. Like, I don't think anything he said was a goodbye.
No.
Like,
it was funny. He was making fun of all the reporters at the end there.
Fucking Domofsky. He could go take a hike. Like, thanks, Domofsky. I'm going to miss you writing about my personal life. He's like, thank you. Like, you suck. He's the worst, man. He's so unlikable.
To your point about Rodgers, didn't he kind of do like a last glance over Lambeau after his San Francisco game too?
He did.
Yeah. Well, he's always done the thing like you never know when it's going to be your last. Like, and truly this year, like, he doesn't know what the Packers are going to do. Like, they could trade him. He doesn't know if this is his last year in Lambeau, regardless of if he plays next year. So, like, let's relax. He's emotional. He's pissed off. He's all of the above. Let's just take a second because that's what he's going to do. Apparently, yesterday and today, talking about Tuesday, Wednesday of this week, he spent lengthy meetings with Gutekunst and LaFleur and all of that, which is typical. It sounded like it was going to be longer than normal, though. I don't think that necessarily means a decision. I think maybe, Luke, to what you're talking about before, maybe it's Rodgers tearing them a new asshole about everything they've done wrong. That would be awesome. And if not, then, who knows? Who knows? But I wouldn't expect a Rodgers decision soon.
No.
Right?
No.
As much as I love Rodgers, he for sure loves the drama too.
Absolutely.
Like, he feeds into it. So he's not going to be like, okay, we're good to go. He's going to draw it out. Will it be a detriment to the team? Yes, a little bit. But it is what it is. LaFleur was asked about staff changes and stuff like that, more specifically Joe Barry, because everyone's waiting for, Joe Barry to be fired. Rodgers said specifically he doesn't expect any, if many, or many, if any, staff changes. He liked how Joe Barry got better at the end of the year. So I think it's a lock that Joe Barry is back for his third year as a defensive coordinator ever. He's never made it past 2. So I was wrong. I thought he'd get fired after 2.
Holy shit.
I know.
What?
I know. I'm wrong. Joe Barry proved me wrong. Not because he outperformed projections, but because LaFleur is still around. Congratulations.
So his trophy or his award is most improved. He got the most improved.
Maybe.
Yeah, screw LaFleur for that, because my article when he was hired would have hit perfectly if he got fired after 2 years. But no, he has to bring his ass back.
Well, now, in my opinion, going forward at any point, anything that we want to say bad about Joe Barry, it has to be directed at LaFleur now. Because it was his decision to bring him on, but he has a very easy out to kick him out. And now it's all on him. It's all on him at this point forward. I think it sounds like there's going to be some offensive staff changes. Obviously, Nathaniel Hackett was the head coach of the Broncos for a hot second. And now LaFleur called him immediately to bring him back. He for sure wants to bring him back. LaFleur also said he is willing to think about not calling plays, which is great. At that point, I don't know why LaFleur is on the team still. But if that's the case, maybe Hackett comes back to call plays. However, the other name now is the Jets fired offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur. And our LaFleur tried to hire Mike LaFleur before. They're brothers. And I anticipate he's going to try to do it again. This is so stupid. We might hire both. I don't know. We might do the Patriots thing and have co-play callers. I don't know.
Talk about nepotism, right? We were talking about nepotism like a year ago. It's like if you gave a kid a reins of the football team. Just hire all their friends and have no accountability. It's a train wreck.
LaFleur's on record of saying it's awkward to coach against your friends and family. So which is a lot of people in the league, which is why we lose all these big games because all of his friends coach those teams. But now he's just trying to hire them so there's less to coach against, which I suppose is a strategy.
That's the worst one he's had, to be fair.
But yeah, I don't know. Mike LaFleur is not good at coaching or play calling, at least. I don't really know about him as a coach. However, Matt LaFleur is bad at coaching. So I do know that much. Has zero track record of being good at coaching. Has zero track record of being a good play caller. In fact, he went to Tennessee for 1 year and they got worse. And the Packers saw something in that golden boy and hired him. Since being at Green Bay, he was an inexperienced head coach. And when inexperienced head coaches get hired, usually there's a coaching the coach thing that goes on. Whether it's the general manager coaching the coach or the owner coaching the coach, teaching them how to be leaders, teaching them how to run an organization. And in the case of Green Bay, I ask you who is coaching the coach, And if your answer is Brian Gutekunst, then maybe that's an issue. I don't think it's Brian Gutekunst. Is it Mark Murphy? He's never coached. Like, no, I don't think that's true. Is it the owner? Oh, we don't have an owner, so it's not him.
Stockholders, do your damn job. God.
Like, if you want to call yourself a fucking owner, do something.
And Janet has been. She's been
Janet.
yelling at the Packers to play Aaron Jones.
That's true.
True.
I have.
That's true.
Last week, what did I say? Run the ball or die trying.
Yep.
And we did it.
And you died trying.
We died instead.
You did die.
We just died.
But yeah, LaFleur's not getting better as a coach. Is it his fault? I mean, kind of. Is it the Packers' fault as a whole? Absolutely. Who's coaching the coach? And I think now, this year, the only person actually coaching the coach is Rich Bisaccia. And I think he's a great teacher. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a great leader. He just should be the head coach. Can they swap?
Yeah,
It should be LaFleur.
Just let him run the prison. Like, who cares? Dude almost beat the Bengals, and he took this Raiders team to the playoffs. That in itself should get him the job.
Well, also, Bisaccia's coaching the general manager with all of the in-season acquisitions they made, which, by the way, that's why the special teams is better this year. I think Bisaccia is a fine coach, but he at least put players in position to win. And then that was not the case in the past. The special teams was the casualties of the weekly roster. We had multiple times 4+ players who had been on the team for less than a week on kickoff, which surprisingly did not work. Weird. This year we got a returner. Hey, if the Packers had to die to get rid of Mari Rodgers, fine.
Who,
right?
By the way, the fact he didn't get all pro by Cordero Patterson, who returned 9 kicks, is absolutely wild.
Yeah. That's true.
Nope. No disrespect to Cordero Patterson from my end.
Cordero Patterson's he deserves it. He deserves everything and more.
Mm-hmm.
Other offseason stuff, we'll talk about free agency later. There's a lot of free agents. There's a lot of restructuring that's going to happen. Is there anything else from press conferences you saw that you want to talk about? I think those are the big things.
I mean,
fucking LaFleur. Okay, sorry. He said, the media people got so excited. Matt LaFleur said that he's going to give media, this is the day after the game, they just lost, heartbreaking. I want to give you guys a behind-the-scene look at the Packers organization. So LaFleur's kind of pitching to run his own mini Hard Knocks and then hopefully get Hard Knocks is what it seems like. If that's not what it is, I don't know what's going on. I'm not sure. I hope, Luke, you get brought into a meeting and they're like telling you about all these things that you get to do. Because I just want to know what he...
Isn't media by nature behind the scenes? Like, isn't that the nature of the job? Like, what is more behind the scenes? Are we going to give Rob Domofsky our damn game plan?
I feel like I think his point might have good intentions. I think he might want to do it. I'm being optimistic and like show it how hard of a job it is to be a coach, I guess. Like all the hours and all the stuff. And maybe some of like this is really optimistic, but this isn't the case, but I hope it is. Like show all of like the staff members and like have talking with like the Green Bay staff members that have been there for, like 60 years, like injury, like equipment people, like Red and stuff like that. Like maybe that's the case. It's not, but like maybe that would be the case. I don't know, man. I hate Matt LaFleur. Like he wants to like break out his pom-poms and show him his new fucking routine. Like that's all this is. I can't stand it. This is a coach.
The tour guides? The tour guides, the ones that give you a tour of Lambeau. They've been working there for years.
The hardest position to get in America is supposed to be an NFL head coaching gig. Like there's less senators, there's less all of this. It's easier to get those jobs than an NFL head coaching job. And Matt LaFleur has one of them. And it really bothers me. His whole shtick is that he pumps up the crowd and fucks up. Like that's it, man.
To be fair, that's what Brandon Staley does too.
Yeah. I don't like him either. Who do I hate more? Because Staley said his favorite Thanksgiving food was like cauliflower
Yeah,
something.
it's an incredible line.
Dude, he is ruining the Chargers, and he says analytics is perfect whenever he makes a horrible decision.
He's just ruining the Chargers by not doing anything different than Anthony Lynn.
They better not lose to the Jaguars. Because I'm going to be
I hope
loud.
they do.
Go Jags.
I hope they do. Go Jags.
Go Jags.
Absolutely.
But
But
Khan, do your thing.
stop.
T-Law's going.
He flies around. You're right. He flies around. But come on.
Are we are you guys rooting for anyone in the playoffs? Anyone you'd like to see win?
I want the Bills to get really close and lose.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm usually.
I would love, AFC Championship.
I root for the Seahawks just because my uncle is from there, and then he like tells us to root. We're like, all right, but I'm Bills Mafia all the way.
No, you can't cheer for a team like that after the way the refs got him in there, man. They took the rightful spot of Jamal Williams and Dan Campbell's Lions.
No, it would be incredible if Seattle won a Super Bowl the first year without Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that actually would be cool.
It'd be polar.
Let's ride. Let's ride.
I think overall, maybe I'm cheering for the Eagles because I want to see another Jason Kelce
Agreed.
parade speech.
Agreed.
It's
And
the greatest moment in sports ever.
Whenever the Eagles win Super Bowls, I don't see any Cowboy fans at all.
And the Eagles fans are going to burn that city to the ground again. And it's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
True. What about you, Luke? What do you got?
Well, I don't really like anyone in the NFC. Like I said, I think it'd be funny if Seattle won. I guess I like San Francisco. They're fine. I like Brock Purdy. AFC is hard for me to choose. I love all the quarterbacks except for Tua. But if I had to pick one, like if Lamar Jackson's playing, I'm rooting for the Ravens. If not, Kansas City.
Is Tua one of the most hated people in the NFL?
He's got to be.
Yeah.
Or is it just my circle? Because we all hate him.
Zach, I will say you did not influence me to hate Tua.
I think the NFL hates him. They just keep throwing him in the games and keep getting concussions. The coaches hate him.
Maybe. Supposedly he's not playing this weekend.
Skylar Thompson, Kansas State's finest.
Why are we putting Teddy Bridgewater out there? We know what's going to happen. At least put Skylar Thompson in to see. It'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. Perfect time to see what you got in the playoffs.
Exactly. We got to see what we got this guy. Because God knows Tua is not going to play 17 games next year. And Teddy won't.
That's why I kind of wish the Jets made the playoffs, because you never know who's going to start a quarterback for them.
Joe Flacco is so uninterested in Week 18 again. He is.
well, then who is their fourth stringer from the practice squad that came in and carved up the Jags for a whole drive and a half too?
The guy from the CFL, Strevler.
Yeah, he's like right-handed Tim Tebow.
Pretty much. He has a little Ryan Fitzpatrick in him too, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's if you ever want to just go look up CFL championship parade pictures with him. He is a absolute stud. Cowboy hat. I think he had his shirt unbuttoned. Ryan Fitzpatrick just chugging beers.
Love that.
He's great.
I will. While we're on the Jets, I will make the plea to the Jets to stick with Mike White. He's a Hall of Famer. You're just not helping him right now.
True, because Zach Wilson said if they bring in a veteran, he's going to make their life hell.
Mm-hmm.
So
don't want to deal with
Mike
that.
White's not a veteran.
Right?
No. Zach White's going to fuck that guy's wife, and it's going to be an absolute nightmare in the locker room for sure.
Zach Wilson went to BYU. He'll just pull one shaving cream prank and think it's the funniest thing ever. Or toothpaste Oreos.
That's a funny prank. Mixing M&M's and Skittles is a good one too.
Oh,
that's just maniacal. That's not right.
Yeah, it's psychotic.
No, it's funny.
Okay. Well, is that the note we want to end our season on, or
Well, I mean,
anybody else got something?
we're talking about Zach Wilson. Like he went 20 for 24 against us or whatever it was. Like we made Zach
Yeah.
Wilson have like the greatest
Whoa.
game of his career, and now he didn't even. Like, they're starting 4 stringers over him at the end of the year. That's what you need to know with Packers season.
Well, and the crazy thing too is like you look at that round of games, like the Giants, they blew it. Jets, they came out completely flat and blew that. Washington, they still had Amari Rodgers. He cost them how many points? Like just one game and they're in the playoffs. Like just one.
Yeah.
All the games they missed by inches because of incompetence and bad coaching, one would have made the difference. That's the season.
I know what high note we can end on. Do you guys have like what was the high point of the season for the Packers this year?
Beating Tom Brady.
What was the best thing that happened to him?
Beating Tom Brady, probably.
The way, oh yeah.
Best
And
thing
I
that
would also
happened
say-
to them?
Just like best moment.
Zach.
I would say beating Dallas with McCarthy coming back to town. That was their best
True.
win of the season.
For sure.
That was fun.
Man.
Could you not argue that was predictable though? Like the
Of
moment
course.
Mike McCarthy had that big coat touching grass, you knew it was game over.
Of course.
What was that? Like, what was he doing?
He was trying to dress like Vince Lombardi.
I'd like
that
to
was
think
his
Mike
Yeah.
McCarthy's having himself a calendar photo shoot, and that was just the month of January.
I'm pretty sure he was pantsless behind that coat. He was just like, I wanted to do this one time when I was in Green Bay, didn't get a chance to.
Would it be funny if he just opened it and he had watches in it? Which would you want, sir?
I mean, the high point, I guess, for the Packers is probably Christian Watson's 3 touchdown game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That goes into Dallas.
For me,
Yeah.
that second swat that Tadarius Slayton got,
Oh.
he's still flying.
How about that?
JJ Watt mini.
when he took down like Dalvin Cook by himself on one-on-one on 3rd and 1 from the 1 or whatever it was. That was a great moment too.
He actually played pretty well to end the year,
You did.
which
He must
Gary
figure out
I don't
breathing.
know.
He found a breathing technique.
I feel like him being good makes him slightly less likable, but you know,
Absolutely.
I don't know, man. This guy, I love that guy.
I do too. Okay, well, this was Lombardi Sweep. This was the 2022 Packers.
And this
We'll be
is
back after the Super Bowl at some point, predicting all of the free agents the Packers won't sign, and then we'll absolutely nail our draft coverage, and the Packers won't draft any of them either. Goodbye.
Bye.